In 2025, expect major franchise releases, high-powered horror sequels, and a whole new era of DC Comics movies. From an Oscar winner's latest to the next Avatar entry, here's what we're excited to see. Bong Joon-ho made history at the 92nd Academy Awards when his dark thriller comedy Parasite became the first foreign language movie to win Best Picture. The Korean movie also earned Best International Feature Film, and Bong nabbed trophies for directing and screenwriting. So, film fans are all waiting with bated breath for his next feature, Mickey 17, a sci-fi film starring Robert Pattinson. Based on a novel by Edward Ashton, Mickey 17 will find Pattinson playing an expendable, a clone sent to colonize an ice planet. When one clone dies, another takes his place, keeping all the previous clones' memories.
The director called the film the story of a simple man who ultimately ends up saving the world.
Pattinson stars alongside a murderous row of talent, with Steven Yeun, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo. Interestingly, Mickey 17 was originally marked for a March 2024 release, but Warner Bros. Decided to kick it back all the way to January 31st, 2025. According to Variety, that's because the movie was majorly impacted by the 2023 Hollywood strikes, and Bong needed more time to bring his vision to the screen. We're incredibly excited to see what he has in store. In the Disney Plus series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam Wilson picked up the Star-Spangled Shield and became Captain America. Now in 2025, the character will take his version of the first Avenger to the big screen with Captain America Brave New World on February 14th. Starring Anthony Mackie in the lead role, Brave New World is co-written by Falcon and the Winter Soldier showrunner Malcolm Spellman and directed by Julius Onah of the Cloverfield Paradox. The film has been described as a paranoid thriller.
But I want to make another run at making Captain America an official military position.
According to the official synopsis, Sam finds himself in the middle of an international incident. He must discover the reason behind the nefarious global plot before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. That last part is no doubt a reference to Red Hulk, the angry alter ego of Thaddeus Ross, played here by Harrison Ford, who replaces the late William Hurt.
I have to admit, I'm still getting used to the new look.
In the film, Ross is a newly elected US president, which might make his transformation a bit problematic for the federal government. We know the story will involve a sleeper agent conspiracy, as well as the remains of the celestial Tiamut, who's made of adamantium, allowing the fabled metal to finally become part of MCU lore. As for bad guys, Tim Blake Nelson will return from The Incredible Hulk as the uber-intelligent leader, while Giancarlo Esposito will play the villainous Sidewinder, king of the Serpent Society. Hulk co-star Liv Tyler will return as Betty Ross. Danny Ramirez will play the new Falcon. Cole Lumbee reprises his Falcon and the Winter Soldier character Isaiah Bradley. And Shira Haas from Unorthodox will play Ruth Bat Saraf. Minecraft has risen through the video game ranks to become a media empire. But there's still one thing it doesn't have, a feature film of its own. But in 2025, Minecraft finally gets a movie, courtesy of Napoleon Dynamite writer-director Jared Hess. We still have no idea what the movie is about, or how it will work with the established lore and iconography of the game. But we do know it stars Jason Momoa, with Jack Black reportedly playing Minecraft character Steve.
Oh boy, here comes another fiery hoop. Here comes another opportunity to show what I can do, to dance with the big guns.
You can also expect to see Jennifer Coolidge, Matt Berry, Kate McKinnon, Jermaine Clement, and Danielle Brooks, who will be singing with Jack Black in the film. The film is on track for an April 4th release, so bring your pixelated pickaxes and get ready. On June 6th, we'll be heading back to the world of bulletproof suits and secret assassin societies with Ballerina. Directed by Len Wiseman of Live Free or Die Hard, the movie will follow Ana de Armas as a title dancer, a killer, quote, trained in the traditions of the Resca Roma, according to the official plot synopsis. If you remember, John Wick came out of the Resca Roma crime family, a group that also trains female assassins in the arts of murder and ballet dancing, thus the title of the film. It's also been reported the movie sets de Armas' character on the search for revenge against the villains who killed her parents. Angelica Houston will reprise her role as a director. The late Lance Reddick will return in the role of Continental concierge Sharon. Ian McShane will charm everyone as Continental head Winston, and Keanu Reeves will appear as John Wick.
Just have fun, Albert.
The film is reportedly a midquel, taking place between the third and fourth John Wick movies. Newcomers to the film include Gabrielle Byrne, Norman Reedus, David Castaneda, and Sharon Duncan Brewster. The original script was written by Shay Hatton, who previously worked on John Wick Chapter 3 and John Wick Chapter 4, with rewrites done by Emerald Fennell of Saltburn and Promising Young Woman. Ballerina was supposed to hit theaters in 2024, but franchise overseer Chad Stahelski was brought on to help Len Wiseman shoot some new action scenes, pushing the release date. Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later is one of the all-time landmark horror movies, bringing the zombie genre back to life and paving the way for horror fare like The Walking Dead. Cillian Murphy played a man waking up from a coma to discover the world overrun with zombies, and led to the sequel 28 weeks later.
Were you bitten? Oh. Did any of the blood get in your mouth?
And if you've been wondering what happened in this post-apocalyptic world 28 years later, we're about to find out. Boyle is returning to zombies with the appropriately named 28 Years Later, the first in a planned trilogy. Alex Garland, who wrote the original and has directed projects like Ex Machina and Civil War, wrote the script, and the film features major actors like Ralph Fiennes and Jodie Comer, along with the man who started it all, Cillian Murphy. The terrifying tale will hit theater screens on June 20th, and a sequel directed by Nia DaCosta will follow soon after. In the early months of 2023, Megan, about to kill a doll in the family she's out to keep, no matter the cost, was a runaway horror hit for Universal Pictures.
Model 3 generative android. Megan, for short.
It took just days for the studio to greenlight a sequel after the film's premiere, confirming that Megan 2.0 would reunite writer Akela Cooper and stars Allison Williams and Violet McGraw, with director Gerald Johnstone also returning. Ivana Sarkno of Ahsoka, Tim Sharp of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Aristotle Atari of Hacks, and Jermaine Clement of Flight of the Conchords have all joined the cast, and will also see the return of Brian Jordan Alvarez as Cole, and Jen Van Epps as Tess. We don't know much about what the follow-up will do in terms of story, but the original film left a teaser suggesting Megan has managed to survive as a piece of software, moving between systems, so it's possible she'll get a new body and a few new dances the second time around. Producer James Wan elaborated on this a bit with Empire magazine, saying, "The first film came just at the right time, when concerns about AI were mounting, and we're definitely leaning into that on the next one. We're exploring the AI universe even further." Megan 2.0 hits theaters on June 27th. Dinosaurs might be extinct, but no meteorite can kill the Jurassic Park franchise. The 1993 original has given way to a billion-dollar series, and while there have been some highs and lows along the way, that T-Rex keeps coming back for more box office dollars. Following the Jurassic World trilogy starring Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, Universal plans a soft reboot with Jurassic World Rebirth. Slated for July 2nd, the movie takes place in the aftermath of Jurassic World Dominion.
If I can understand how Charlotte rewrote Maisie's DNA, I can spread change from one locust to the entire swarm before it's too late.
Yes, dinosaurs are still running around the planet, but they've retreated to equatorial climates, which are way better suited for these prehistoric creatures. However, they'll soon receive a visit from a team of experts hoping to get DNA from the 3 biggest dinos.
Bingo. Dino DNA.
Evidently, the genetic material from these 3 creatures could create a new miracle drug, but the mission goes awry when the team winds up stranded on an island alongside a terrified family. Scarlett Johansson of MCU fame will play the leader of the team, and she'll be joined here by names like Mahershala Ali, Rupert Friend, and David Iacano. David Koepp, who wrote the original Jurassic Park, is writing the script, and Gareth Edwards will be calling the shots from the director's chair. Matt Stone and Trey Parker are legends when it comes to edgy, controversial comedy. They created one of the most infamous animated series of all time, South Park, as well as the hilariously shocking Team America World Police. Now they're making a live-action comedy with one of the most important musicians of the 21st century, the Pulitzer, Emmy, and Grammy-winning rapper Kendrick Lamar. At the moment, we have no idea what the project will be about or who will star, but we know it's not a musical, despite some early reports. The script comes from Vernon Chapman, who was a writer and producer on South Park and was also involved with the first Jackass movie. Talking about the upcoming film at 2024 CinemaCon, Paramount executive Brian Robbins announced, "The script is one of the funniest and most original scripts we've ever read, and it's certain to create some fireworks when it hits theaters on July 4th, 2025. In November 2022, James Gunn became co-head of DC Studios and ushered in a new era for DC's superhero films.
Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us.
In 2025, the first fruits of all that work will finally emerge in the form of Superman, formerly titled Superman Legacy, the character's first standalone film since Man of Steel more than a decade earlier. Written and directed by Gunn, the new film is set to star a younger version of the title character, thus introducing a new version of the DC universe that Gunn and company can build out into something exciting. David Corenswet will play the new Superman, while Rachel Brosnahan of The Marvelous Miss Maisel plays Lois Lane. But that's only the beginning. Nicholas Hoult will portray Lex Luthor, and you can also expect to see Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern Guy Gardner, Skylar Giordano as Daily Planet photographer Jimmy Olsen, Wendell Pierce as Daily Planet editor-in-chief Perry White, and Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl. The lineup will also include Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, and Sarah Sampaio as Lex Luthor's henchwoman, Eve Teschmacher. We can't wait for this one. Superman flies into theaters on July 11th. The Fantastic Four is one of the most famous superhero teams ever, and seemingly cursed to subpar movies. But now that they're in the MCU fold, we're hoping for a film that exceeds expectations.
Come a long way since the garage.
Gotta say, it's fantastic.
We don't know much about the plot for the upcoming movie, other than that it takes place in an alternate universe's 1960s New York. But we do know who's portraying Marvel's first family, because Marvel Studios revealed the cast on Valentine's Day 2024. Pedro Pascal will play Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby of the Mission Impossible franchise will play Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman. Joseph Quinn of Stranger Things stars as Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch. And Ebon Moss-Bachrach will play Ben Grimm, the Thing. Julia Garner will also appear as a Silver Surfer. Ralph Ineson of The First Omen will play Galactus, and Natasha Lyonne, John Malkovich, and Paul Walter Hauser will portray unknown characters. As for who's running the show, WandaVision director Matt Shakman has taken the helm, replacing Spider-Man Homecoming director John Watts.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the Fantastic Four since I was a kid. I love these characters, and I think we found 4 amazing actors to bring them to life.
After initially being scheduled for a May release date, Fantastic Four First Steps is finally headed to screens on July 25th. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have been battling demons as Ed and Lorraine Warren since 2013.
And it doesn't matter where you go, this dark entity has latched itself to your family, and it's feeding off you.
The two have starred in 3 proper Conjuring movies and kicked off an entire franchise that's given us films including Annabelle, The Nun, and The Curse of La Llorona. However, while the spin-offs will continue, it seems the Warrens are about to exorcise their last evil spirit.
It should be destroyed.
Yep, The Conjuring Last Rites, currently slated for September 5th, 2025, is reportedly the last installment in the main Conjuring series. At the moment, we don't know what the plot is, but the post-credit scene in The Nun 2 hinted that the Warrens might be called into action against the big bad Valak.
I don't know what was worse, the demons or the people who prey on our willingness to believe in them.
The demons.
Michael Sharves, who helmed The Nun and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, will direct the 4th film. And the script comes courtesy of David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, who wrote the 2nd and 3rd Conjuring movies. One of the biggest cinematic surprises of 2023 was that Saw X actually turned out to be pretty awesome. By bringing back Tobin Bell's John Kramer and actually making him sympathetic, the minds behind the franchise injected new life into the horror series.
Good luck, man, okay? I'm rooting for you. Thank you.
Saw X was the first Saw film with a positive Rotten Tomatoes score, and it scared up $111 million at the box office, against a $13 million budget. So naturally, we're gonna play some more games when Saw 11 hits theaters on September 26th, 2025.
But trust me, you will want to remain alert.
At the moment, we're unsure if the movie will be a mid-crawl like Saw X, taking place between the 1st and 3rd Saw films when Kramer was still alive, or if it'll pursue a new storyline. But given the success of the last movie, we're assuming the 11th installment will pick up where it left off, especially given that Saw X had a mid-credit scene where Jigsaw reunited with protege Mark Hoffman, played by Costas Mandylor. Saw X director Kevin Grotert, who also helmed Saw 6 and Saw 3D, is coming back for more gruesome fun, and Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton, who wrote the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th films, will be writing the script. Speaking with Screen Rant, Dunstan said, "It's got something new to say, and it's angry." Ready for more gory fatalities? Then prepare for Mortal Kombat 2. The first film was released during the COVID-19 pandemic, but still earned $83 million and became Max's most streamed movie at the time. Needless to say, we expect it to earn a whole lot more this time around when it punches its way onto IMAX screens on October 24th, 2025. The last movie left with Cole Young heading out to find new recruits for the Mortal Kombat tournament.
I'll assemble a new list of champions. You must find them.
The film teased a potential appearance by video game favorite Johnny Cage, and the movie star turned combatant will be played by Carl Urban of The Boys fame. Jessica McNamee, Makard Brooks, Ludi Lin, Tadanobu Asano, Chin Han, Josh Lawson, Max Huang, Joe Taslim, and Hiroyuki Sanada are all returning for the sequel, even though some of them died in the first movie.
In a fight, the agony, the struggle, the pain, those are our lines.
As for newcomers, Urban will be joined by Adeline Rudolph as Katana, Tati Gabrielle as Jade, Damon Harriman as Quan Chi, and Desmond Chiam as King Jared. The script hails from Jeremy Slater of Moon Knight, and Simon McCoy returns to direct the many bloody battle scenes between the champions of Earthrealm and Outworld. And unlike the first film, the sequel will actually feature a Mortal Kombat tournament. Honestly, we really doubt that Blade will hit its November 2025 release date. Marvel hasn't said the movie is getting pushed back, but we're thinking the chances are pretty good. Since the project was first announced in 2019, Blade has lost 2 different directors, and the studio has cycled through at least 6 screenwriters. As a result, the plot has shuffled through multiple incarnations. The Hollywood Reporter noted that one version of the movie took place in the 1920s, and another would have featured a huge train set. And Variety reported that one script would have been a, quote, narrative led by women and filled with life lessons, while Blade was relegated to the 4th lead. Jeff Snyder of The Insnyder also claims that one version of the script featured a grand total of 2 action scenes, which isn't a lot for a blockbuster superhero flick. We have no idea why a story about a man who kills vampires with a sword is proving so difficult to crack.
You look human to me.
Humans don't drink blood.
However, we do know that 2-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali is still starring as the Daywalker, even though he is reportedly growing quite frustrated with the whole affair. Mia Goth of the X trilogy is also still connected to the movie, although cast members Aaron Pierre and Delroy Lindo have walked. With no director and no set screenplay, we're expecting this one will eventually wind up with a later release date, but we'll keep it on this list until Marvel's eventual announcement. After taking nearly 10 years to get to theater screens, Five Nights at Freddy's absolutely cleaned up at the box office. Hailing from Universal and Blumhouse, Five Nights earned nearly $300 million worldwide, making it the highest-grossing Blumhouse movie ever. For comparison's sake, that means it made more money than titles like Get Out, Megan, and Paranormal Activity. With all that money pouring in, no wonder we're going back to that haunted pizza restaurant for more robot-driven terror. Yup, the Five Nights at Freddy's sequel was confirmed in April 2024 at CinemaCon, and those creepy animatronics will be slowly stalking our way in December 2025. Industry insider Daniel RPK reports that the sequel will be scarier than the first film, which was light on hair-raising moments. Blumhouse also tweeted an image from Jim Henson's Creature Shop, where it seems the fine folks who made the robots for the first film are bringing the terrifying Mangle, the messed-up fox monster from the sequel game, to life. Better still, it appears Matthew Lillard is still coming back as serial killer William Afton. He revealed on the JB and Millie YouTube channel that he'd be shooting the Five Nights sequel in October 2024. It took more than a decade for James Cameron to finally release Avatar: The Way of Water, his long-awaited sequel to Avatar, but for many fans it was worth the wait. The sequel was once again a blockbuster and paved the way for the rest of Cameron's ambitious story to move forward. Thankfully, we won't have to wait that long for a third installment. Avatar: Fire and Ash is set to hit theaters over the 2025 holiday season, and will once again have Cameron in the director's chair, guiding his characters through the world of Pandora. Alongside Cameron will be returning cast members Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang, Kate Winslet, and more. Newcomer Una Chaplin of Game of Thrones fame will portray the leader of a Na'vi tribe called the Ash People, while David Thewlis of Wonder Woman will also join the cast. Sadly, Michelle Yeoh won't be showing up until the fourth movie. We don't yet know exactly where the film will take Jake Sully and his family as they enter the next stage of the fight for their home. But we know the Ash People are all about fire.
Fire can represent hatred, can represent violence, trauma.
We also know they won't be as nice as the Na'vi we've met before. Speaking was 20 minutes, Cameron explained. In the first films, there are very negative human examples and very positive Na'vi examples. In Avatar 3, we'll do the opposite. Avatar Fire and Ash is due in theaters December 19th, 2025. Benoit Blanc is back, baby! The gentleman detective with the southern drawl first appeared in Knives Out, investigating the death of a famous mystery writer. He returned for Glass Onion, where he found himself invited to the private island of an eccentric billionaire.
I suspect foul play.
And now he'll put his sleuthing abilities to the test in Wake Up Dead Man, which will be released on Netflix sometime in 2025. Needless to say, Daniel Craig will return as a genteel private eye, and will be accompanied here by Josh Brolin, Glenn Close, Jeremy Renner, Mila Kunis, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, Kerry Washington, and Thomas Hayden Church. Rian Johnson is again writing and directing, and he's hoping to take the third movie in an interesting new direction. Posting on X, formerly Twitter, "I love everything about whodunits, but one of the things I love most is how malleable the genre is. There's a whole tonal spectrum from John Dixon Carr to Agatha Christie, and getting to explore that range is one of the most exciting things about making Benoit Blanc movies." Interestingly, it seems the title of the film might once again be a musical reference. The second Knives Out movie, Glass Onion, is a nod to the Beatles song of the same name. Similarly, U2 has a song called Wake Up Dead Man on their 1997 album Pop. Although what the thematic connection might be to the story, we'll just have to wait and find out. When you look at Dwayne Johnson's filmography and see titles like Red One, Black Adam, and Fast X, it's apparent that it's been a while since the man has taken a true creative risk. However, that's all about to change as Johnson is putting on some prosthetics and stepping into the octagon with The Smashing Machine. Directed by Benny Safdie, one half of the duo behind critically revered and anxiety-inducing films like Uncut Gems and Good Time, The Smashing Machine is a real-life story of Mark Kerr, a world-renowned wrestler who fought during the Wild West days of MMA and found success in organizations like Pride FC, the World Veiled Tudo Championship, and the UFC.
You know, I don't go out and try to punch a guy's face in. You know, sometimes I have to.
But while he won championship belts in the UFC, he also grappled with an addiction to painkillers, adding an extra layer of drama to a story of blood, pain, and adversity. Kerr's story is so compelling that it was already captured in a 2002 documentary, also called The Smashing Machine. Emily Blunt, who previously starred alongside The Rock in Jungle Cruise, will reunite with Johnson in the film, playing Kerr's wife, Dawn Staples. The movie will also feature some real-life combat stars in acting roles, including boxer Alexander Usyk and MMA fighters Ryan Bader and Bas Rutten. The movie will release sometime in 2025, and we're hoping that Johnson will dig deep and deliver a performance that's dark, complex, and gritty, even if he's way older than Kerr was during his UFC days. Paramount has long tried to bring a new Star Trek movie to the screen, hoping to make the fourth installment of the Kelvin Timeline series created by J.J. Abrams. While the studio is still in the process of getting that starship off the ground, they seem to be much closer, putting a prequel onto the big screen.
Star Trek trivia, Star Trek Next Generation trivia, Star Trek Deep Space Nine trivia, Star Trek Voyager trivia.
At CinemaCon 2024, Paramount announced a prequel film would be boldly going into theaters sometime the following year. The film will be directed by Toby Haynes, who worked on sci-fi properties such as Andor, Doctor Who, and Black Mirror. The script hails from Seth Grahame-Smith of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter fame. We don't know anything about the plot except that it takes place decades before the 2009 film starring Chris Pine, which means the story will be set between the creation of the Kelvin Timeline and possibly even before the events of Star Trek Enterprise.